Cadmium Sulph by Dr. Kent, has been only partially proved, so that only a limited amount of information can be given concerning it. There is a dread of work, aversion to doing everything, mental and physical. Anxiety has been brought out more by cures than by the pathogenesis, so that it is well enough known to be classed along with arsenicum for its anxiety. It may well be classed with arsenicum for its prostration also. It has great weakness. It might also be classed with arsenicum, because of the organs that are affected, especially because of its action upon the stomach, which is somewhat like arsenicum, great exhaustion, irritable stomach and vomiting. It has such vomiting as is found in the lowest forms of fever, such irritable stomach as is found in yellow fever, with black vomiting, and just at this point is the place where the likeness to arsenicum comes out in the low forms of the fever. But unlike arsenicum, running all through the remedy, he wants to be perfectly quiet. Part of it is a state of indolence, part of it is an aversion to motion. He is worse from motion, which makes it like bryonia. So we will see running all through the remedy the exhaustion of arsenicum and aversion to motion, like bryonia. Running through it we find it is spasmodic and nervous. It affects the muscles like zinc. It is found in its crude state associated with zinc. Hering made several observations whereby he tried to prove that substances found together had a relationship and illustrated it by tellurium, which occurs as the telluride of gold. It may be a fact that substances so associated are in some respects similar, but this is only a side thought, as each substance must be studied on its merits. There must be no guesswork in the study of provings. Every remedy must be used for its own symptoms, and for these there is no substitute. If a remedy does not work, the homeopath can only examine the case anew and seek new symptoms in another remedy. Vertigo in the room, the bed spins round. The head symptoms, anxiety and vertigo, are such as occur in low types of gastrointestinal irritation, as in continued fevers. Deep-seated, slow and sluggish. In yellow fever, with prostration, vomiting of blood, black vomit. Lancinating in the head, pulsating in the temples. It is not so often called for in ordinary headaches, but in headaches occurring in the low forms of fever, with great rush of blood to the head. Cutting like knives as occurs in yellow fever. The eye symptoms are numerous. Inflammation of a local character, conjunctivitis with discharge, long continued, a chronic conjunctivitis. Old, sore eyes, rousing up with every cold and change of weather. Thickening of the conjunctiva. Scrofulous sore eyes. Ulcer spots, old scars which break and heal up. It does wonderful work in curing old eye troubles, opacities with slow inflammation. Pressure above the eyes. Paralysis of the lids, ptosis. It commonly affects one side of the face and one eye. It has paralytic conditions like causticum, paralysis of one part or of one side of the body. After an apoplectic attack, when the patient recovers, but weakness of one arm and leg remains, it competes with phosphorus. Changes in sensation here and there. Formication of the skin and deeper tissues. Asleep. Sensation, or like ants crawling in the extremities, deep in the muscles and the skin. Hyperesthesia or anesthesia. Numbness of parts. The nose, one hand, numbness in spots. In this it is similar to causticum. Paralyzed parts are sometimes painful. Crawling in paralyzed parts. Old nasal catarrh which has progressed till the nasal bones are being destroyed by caries. Ulceration. Pains in the bones. Sneezing, coryza, boils, abscesses. Disturbances of the taste. It is suitable to low forms of continued fever. It has sawdust, dark tongue, bleeding tongue and dry mouth, as in typhus, typhoid and yellow fever. Sluggish tongue, difficulty in moving it. Difficult swallowing. The muscles of the throat are affected, causing dysphagia. Constriction of the esophagus. Violent thirst. Every time he takes cold water, which he craves, goose flesh comes out, a creeping or horripilation like capsicum. The stomach gives us the strongest and most important symptoms. The stomach quits business, no digestion. Everything sours, fluids and the simplest things taken are changed and come up sour, mixed with blood or bile. Rancid erectations, with great exhaustion. The nausea is distressing. Nauseated all the way down to the abdomen like ipecacunia antim tart. T. and Rs, extensive nausea. Cold sweat. Vomiting of yellow-green mucus. Touching the lips brings on nausea. Looking over the symptoms narrated here, an experienced practitioner would think of gastritis, vomiting of the simplest things. irritation of the stomach after tedious sicknesses, like cerebrospinal meningitis, typhoid, yellow fever. The stomach gives out, there is no digestion, and everything is vomited. He is convalescing, but his stomach is irritable. He wants to keep still. The arsenic prostration and irritable stomach occur at the beginning of the fever, with heat and restlessness. This medicine comes in after the fever, and with his anxiety he wants to keep still. Arsenic has anxiety and wants to move from bed to bed, and from chair to chair, and he fears death. In this medicine he seems to say, don't speak to me, don't bother me, let me be in peace. He wants to be perfectly quiet, and the state occurs at the close of a febrile disease. Many of these patients die because they cannot eat, but this remedy will save them. When you have a case of cancer, with burning, prostration, and vomiting, cadmium sulph will relieve these symptoms for weeks. I have seen them where the pains have been relieved by anodynes until nothing would stay on the stomach, and this medicine would relieve. It is a great remedy in the gastric irritation of carcinoma, a great palliative, coffee ground vomiting, burning and cutting pains in the stomach. Gastric symptoms, such as occur in pregnancy, in old drunkards. Burning in the stomach extending up into the esophagus, fluids burn all the way up into the mouth and throat, sour, acid fluids. Cold sensation in the stomach. Cholera infantum with irritation of the stomach. Pain in the abdomen with vomiting. Lancinating in the abdomen. From these pains we see it is a medicine which profoundly affects the liver, spleen, stomach and other abdominal viscera. Gangrene threatens. The main remedy in the hands of good prescribers. Relapses in fever, with vomiting, diarrhea, and great prostration. At times a case of yellow fever gets fairly well, but a draught causes a slight cold and on comes sudden prostration, black vomit, death. In that state it competes with carbo-veg, which used to be the main remedy in the hands of good prescribers. HomeoMonk, download our app now, learn free with us and grow as a classical homeopath.